What if the American dream didn't disappear? What if it simply became much more expensive? For generations, the idea was relatively simple: work hard, get a decent job, buy a home, raise a family, save for retirement, and eventually, enjoy a more comfortable life than the generation before you. But for many Americans today, that path feels very different. Not impossible, just much harder. Imagine a 30-year-old professional named Daniel. He earns $5,000 a month after taxes. He's not poor. He's not living extravagantly. He has a full-time job, a decent education, and a reasonable career. He should be doing fine. But then he starts looking at what his parents were able to afford at a similar age: a home, a reliable car, a family, and eventually, retirement savings. Daniel looks at the numbers today and realizes something uncomfortable. The salary may be higher, but the things that salary is supposed to buy have become much more expensive. His rent is $1,500. His transportation cost another $600. Food, insurance, utilities, and basic expenses consume another $1,200. That's $3,600 gone before he even thinks about saving. He has $1,400 left. Then comes student debt, credit cards, medical expenses, travel pawn bills, subscriptions, and the simple desire to occasionally enjoy life. Suddenly, the American dream doesn't look like a clear path. It looks like a financial balancing act. And this is where the story becomes more interesting. Because the problem isn't simply that Americans earn too little. In many cases, incomes have increased. The problem is that some of the biggest things people associate with financial success have become increasingly expensive. Housing is the obvious example. For decades, buying a home represented more than shelter. It represented stability, a place for your family, a long-term asset, and eventually, a major part of retirement security. But when home prices rise faster than incomes, the mathematics change. Imagine a young worker earning $60,000 a year. A home that costs $250,000 is already a major commitment. Now imagine that same worker earning $75,000 several years later. It sounds like progress. But if the home they want has risen to $400,000, their higher salary hasn't solved the problem. The income increased, the target moved even further away. And housing isn't the only example. Education became more expensive. Cars became more expensive. Healthcare can be expensive. Childcare can be expensive. Even ordinary services can consume a larger portion of a household budget. This creates a strange psychological experience. You can be doing everything that society told you to do and still feel behind. You got the degree. You found the job. You increased your income. You avoided reckless spending. And yet the major milestones still feel distant. That's why the American dream is worth examining carefully, because perhaps the dream itself hasn't disappeared. Maybe the economics around it changed. There's another important difference between generations. Previous generations often compared themselves with the people around them. Today, people compare themselves with millions of people online. A normal apartment can look unsuccessful next to luxury homes on social media. A regular vacation can feel disappointing next to constant travel content. A normal salary can feel small when you constantly see people claiming to earn six figures. This creates another layer of pressure. The American dream isn't just about owning a home anymore. It's also about looking successful while trying to afford it. And that can push people toward debt. A car payment becomes easier to justify. A larger apartment becomes a symbol of progress. Credit cards help maintain a lifestyle before the income is actually there. The problem is that appearances don't build financial security. A person can look successful and still have almost nothing saved. Another person can live modestly and have substantial financial flexibility. From the outside, you may not know the difference. This is why the definition of success matters. If success means constantly upgrading your lifestyle, there may never be a point where you feel finished. There's always a better neighborhood, a newer car, a larger home, a more expensive vacation, a higher salary. The target keeps moving. But financial security works differently. It isn't necessarily about having the most. It's about having enough room between what you earn and what you must spend. That room gives you choices. It gives you the ability to handle a bad month, change jobs, move somewhere else, start a family. Take time to reconsider your priorities. And perhaps most importantly, it allows you to define success for yourself, rather than constantly chasing someone else's version of it. So what actually happened to the American dream? Maybe it didn't vanish. Maybe the old version was based on an economic environment that no longer exists in exactly the same way. And maybe the modern version needs to be reconsidered. Perhaps the goal isn't simply to own a large house, drive an expensive car, and earn a constantly increasing salary. Perhaps the deeper goal is stability, ownership when it makes sense, manageable debt savings, time family, and enough financial flexibility to make choices without every decision being controlled by money. The American dream may have changed because America changed, and that doesn't necessarily mean the dream is dead. It means we have to separate the asterisk idea of a better life from the specific list of things we were told that better life was supposed to contain. Because a better life isn't automatically a bigger house, it isn't automatically a newer car, and it isn't automatically a six-figure salary. The real question is much simpler. Can the life you're building actually support the things you value? Asterisk. If the answer is yes, perhaps the American dream isn't gone after all. Perhaps it's simply becoming something different. If you found this perspective useful, consider subscribing for more calm, reality-based conversations about money.